Sophie had always been an independent woman. She lived alone in a big city and had a good job as a marketing executive. But one day, everything changed. Sophie was walking home from work, like she did every day, when she suddenly felt a hand on her shoulder. She turned around to see a man standing behind her, his face obscured by the hood of his jacket. Before Sophie could react, the man grabbed her and dragged her into a nearby alleyway. She tried to fight back, but he was too strong. The man forced Sophie into the back of a van, where she saw 3 other people already trapped inside. They were all bound and gagged, and Sophie realized with horror that she had been kidnapped. The van drove for what seemed like hours, and Sophie tried to free herself from her restraints, but it was no use. She was trapped, with no idea where she was going or what would happen to her. Finally, the van came to a stop, and Sophie was roughly pulled out and dragged into a dark room. She was thrown onto the floor, and the man who had kidnapped her stood over her, a sickening grin on his face. "Welcome to your new home, Sophie," he said, his voice cold and cruel. "You'll be here for a while, so you might as well get comfortable." Sophie was terrified. She had no idea what the man wanted from her or why he had taken her. All she knew was that she had to escape before it was too late. Days turned into weeks, and Sophie was kept in the dark, cold room, with no windows and no contact with the outside world. The only time she saw the man was when he brought her food and water, and even then, he always wore a mask to hide his face. Sophie tried to keep track of the days, but they all blended together in a never-ending nightmare. She lost track of time and space, feeling like she was slowly losing her mind. But despite everything, Sophie never gave up hope. She knew that she had to escape, no matter what it took. One day, while the man was bringing her food, Sophie managed to slip her hand out of her restraints and grab a knife from the tray. Before the man could react, she plunged the knife into his chest and fled the room. She ran through the dark, winding corridors, not knowing where she was going but knowing that she had to get out. Finally, she burst through a door and into the fresh air outside. But Sophie's ordeal was far from over. She had no idea where she was or how to get help. She wandered the streets, looking for anyone who could help her, but she was too disoriented to know where to go. Finally, she stumbled into a police station, her clothes torn and her face bruised. The officers there took her in and listened to her story, and they were able to track down the man who had kidnapped her. Sophie's ordeal was over, but the memory of what had happened to her would haunt her for the rest of her life. She had survived, but she was no longer the same person she had been before. The world was a darker, more dangerous place, and Sophie knew that she would never take her safety for granted again.